Everybody, I just wanted to talk about our sponsor for today's episode, which is Join Cycling. Why is Join coming on? You might ask. Well, it's because Andrew and I have signed up for a big cycling event yet to be revealed later in 2025. And the wonderful thing about Join is Andrew and I both, we're family people. We have, we're entrepreneurs. We have businesses. We have this podcast. It's hard for us to get our workouts in when we need to. What's great about Join? You don't get the workout in. Or even today, I have an FTP test scheduled. Fantastic that I get to go do that right after this episode. But if I don't want to do that, and if it doesn't work for me, I just press the shuffle button and I get a new workout. And no matter what I do, the training plan adapts and continues me on my path to success with new dynamic workouts. It's fantastic if you're like me and you don't really like authority. It's tough for me with the coach sometimes. That's where Join really helps. Unlike rigid training plans, Join adapts to your schedule, fitness level, and goals so you always get the most effective workout no matter how life gets in the way. And trust me, it does get in the way. With science-backed training, seamless integration with your favorite devices and workouts designed by top coaches, Join helps you ride smarter, not harder. Download Join today and start training like a pro and use our special code at join.cc/beyond-the-peloton and find the link in the show notes. All right, let's get into the episode now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here, as always, with Andrew Vontz from the Choose the Hard Way podcast, always the Hard Way newsletter. We are breaking down the recent going on in professional cycling. Juan Ayuso on vacation in Miami, Gravel World Championships. Will Big Sugar happen? It will all be answered here. Andrew, would you like to plug anything before we get into this?
Well, Spencer, you can see my Lauf Sigla behind me, the world's best gravel bike, and I'm getting ready for our big 2026 calendar. We're about to announce some pretty serious things going down in 2026, so stay tuned. Suffice it to say, Spencer and I have been putting in those 35, 40-hour weeks, getting ready for what's ahead. And also over on the Choose the Hard Way podcast, just dropped one of the best episodes yet, I think. I have a very special guest. That's right. It's Spencer Martin. What are we talking about that? What are we talking about? 15 minutes is enough to train. Believe it or not, you need to come get this episode. You're going to hear about what you can do with a GoRuck and a TRX when you're with your kids at the playground, at a soccer practice, on the road. And of course, for the first time ever, we are revealing Spencer's Drago Hill Sprint protocol. I think that that's going to be available soon on the Train Heroic app. And he also has a related hamstring tear primer for aging athletes. Spencer, let me tell you, the communication landscape has shifted, as you know, and yesterday's media training just was not made for this moment. That's why I started One Real Voice, to provide strategic guidance and training to help senior leaders like you, the person listening to this podcast. I know you're a hitter. I help you thrive in the high stakes, open-ended communication formats that matter the most in 2025. I'm talking podcasts, fireside chats, panels, all the places that you need to show up and rock. When you're ready to be great, DM me at HardwayPod on Instagram, or you can always send me an email, hello@onerealvoice.com. Spencer, there is an awful lot going on. It seems like talking about Ayuso's stint in Miami might be the most pressing, or perhaps this supercell that is striking Bentonville. I'm referring, of course, to the precipitation that might result in the shortening of this dramatic finale of the Lifetime Grand Prix. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, if you know anything about Northwest Arkansas or the area, the greater area, you got to expect the supercell. I mean, I feel like my whole childhood was we lived life in between supercell storms. They're coming in, they're ripping it up. You sent me an Instagram caption. It looks like Big Sugar might get turned into a Little Sugar because they won't be able to run the whole event. But we don't know that, though. We don't want to cast aspersions on the Sugars. But Andrew, I don't know if we can announce this, but we are not only 2026, we are potentially doing an event at the end of 2025. I've been trying to ride more because of this. And I've I got fenders. I've never had fenders on my bike. I was inspired this summer in London. I just saw all the people with the fenders on there. If you get the fenders on the Brompton, you can go anywhere in that city. And I said, why am I getting soaked? I'm going to put fenders on a bike. I did that. And my son is trying to ride his bike to school every day, ride the bike or take the city bus to school every day for the year. So we're fendered up. We're ready to go. I got a specific winter bike that I have so we can train and prime for these events we're doing. I pull out my old Canyon gravel bike, put the fenders on it. I'm riding to school this morning. Did you know? And I swapped chain rings on it. So I got a bike from a very kind man, a very nice gravel bike. I put my old crankset that I had on my old gravel bike on there because I like the crank arms better. I moved the more expensive crank off, put it on my old gravel bike, didn't think about it. Did you know GRX 800 series is not compatible with the GRX 600 series? And I mean this as in, if I put a 600 chainring on an 800 crank and they put the pin is long enough that it like pokes the crank arm and then bends the chainring so you cannot run it. And the bigwigs, the corporate bigwigs finally got me. I've been doing cross compatibility Franken setups forever, and I finally have hit the end of the road here, Andrew. And I'm shook that this trick no longer works of buying cheaper chain rings and putting them on expensive crank sets. It's a sad day in North Boulder because of that.
No kings in crank
No
sets.
kings, yeah. No, I guess that would be no emperors if it was Shimano.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I was shocked by this. I mean, they're coming for us. The tricks do no longer work.
Don't even get me started because, as you know, I've been looking into swapping the chainring on this bike behind me, the Laufsegler. I've been trying to get in touch with people over there at SRAM. Matt Bowden, would love to hear back from you. I reached out, I think 3 months ago. It'd be great to talk about this. And one of the things I've discovered as I've gone into this odyssey into SRAM, I have to say the Red 13 is amazing. As any listener knows, I am a longtime rim brake devotee. In fact, as recently as 12 months ago, I did think about how might we have a gravel setup with big tires and with V-brakes. I've turned a page. Now that I'm on Red 13, I get it. It works. The Lauf True Grit fork, it's all clicking into place for me. I've got 225 or I think Race Kings on this thing. It all makes sense when you're out there on the right gravel environment. However, the chainring on the Red 13 requires a special tool that I think is maybe it's $150 to get the chainring off.
Yeah.
And then you got to buy the chainring.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, man, this is a lot of money to change something that's a pretty basic part that you might want to change fairly regularly. And then on top of that, because I'm running transmission, everybody out there is saying, I know this already. I didn't know this. Transmission, flawless shifting. I'm sold. It works. It's incredible. However, if I want to move into a bigger chainring size, I have to get the chainring removal tool. I have to get a new chainring, and then you have to buy a new chain, right? So
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at $500 to change a chainring.
And
That's a little steep.
That's my only gripe with SRAM. We're not sponsored by SRAM yet. SRAM, if you want us to stop putting you on blast, you know where to go.
You know what to do.
But I like the functionality of SRAM better. I love using it. It's like with SRAM, we're not stressing it. Everything is a little bit junkier maybe than Shimano, but it all works together. The wireless, maybe there's a delay, but it's wireless. That's nice. But it's very expensive to replace stuff, and everything's proprietary. I'm hesitant to even ride my SRAM bike in the rain because I don't want to wear through the chain ring and chain because I don't want to replace it. I'm out there on Shimano 11 speed in the rain because it's cheaper to replace.
Yeah, I've had the same thoughts, and in fact, went through that exact same process this past week. I was out there. I knew it was going to be a rainy ride, and I started to think about, man, do I really want to have to pay to replace this chain? Because you're no longer going on chain reaction or wiggle, they're gone, right? You're not getting that $30 discounted XT or Durace chain. No. Now you're getting that flat top Red 13 chain, which I think is $150, $200. And I'm not in the wax game yet. That's over in Kip's corner, some of the more elite competitors. I hear great things about waxing, but going back to that episode we've got over on Choose the Hard Way right now, you've got 15 minutes to train. When you're a busy parent, you're an entrepreneur, you're a hustler like our listeners, unless you are at a level where you have a team waxing those chains for you, is that how you want to be spending your time? Do you want to be getting out a crock pot and like meth cooking chains?
Especially if you like live in an apartment or something. Like, what, you're just cooking it in your kitchen? I
Yeah.
also think that's part of the feat. That's not a bug, that's a feature, because it gets you out to you can get out to the garage and get away from the family.
Yeah, just
So
cook a little wax, right?
I'm cooking up a chain every week. Sorry, honey, you can't be in there. But let's so let's talk about the Scratch Cafe while we're here. So after I dropped my son off from school, they've moved the Scratch Cafe in Boulder. And this is Scratch, the energy drink. Yes, has a branded cafe in Boulder. Why would it not? I'm waiting for the Element Cafe to open, get two rivals going. I swing by there because they've moved locations. Apparently, they're busier now at this new location. A little bit more of a burb. They've moved out of downtown. It's in the burbs in a strip mall, but I love it. And I'm rolling up there, and it is chock full of Mosaic bikes every morning. That bike rack. It is. The Mosaic economy is strong in Boulder. I cannot believe how many I'm seeing at Scratch. Also, Scratch Cafe, very good. I would recommend going. Go check out the new location in North Boulder right now. This episode brought to you by Scratch Cafe. Not really, but we just like it. We're fans. Also went there for family dinner, Andrew, the other night because the public schools in Boulder have to raise their own money. I don't fully understand this, but you get like a certain amount of money from the district, but if you want things like a nurse or a librarian, you have to pay for that yourself as a school. So one of the ways they fundraise is you go to a different restaurant every week and you mention the school and they get 20% of that sale. So it was Scratch. And so we took the kids down to get the rice bowls, get the rice, with the rice cakes. And I think it's safe to say it was not a hit with the kids. We're still trying to get them on Alan Lim's diet.
Yeah. I last was face to face with Alan Lim, I believe you can help me with the year here. I believe it was 2011. And he was working with Radio Shack. I believe Levi was on the team at the time, and Jens Voigt. Is that possible? Am I getting this right?
I think that is right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe it was 2011. I was running content at TRX, the Human Performance Company, working for my friend Randy. And Alan was in there. They were doing a lot of interesting things. And that was around the time that rice cakes were on the rise. Of course, Rice Krispie treats are booming in 2025. Spencer, I know I've shared this with you privately, and that we both spent a lot of time producing our own rice cakes, pre-marriage, pre-children, spending a lot of time on Friday
nights. That was like
nights.
my Sunday night routine was making rice cakes.
Yeah, because this was the secret to high performance. And then I remember very specifically one of the gnarliest races that I ever did, part of I believe it was the 2015 California Gravel Gauntlet Series, Rest in Power, called the Taint Hammer. It had 347 feet of elevation gain in 127 miles. And it was through farmland in California's Central Valley. And in the first hour of the race, I was trying to race using Scratch rice cakes that I had made as my fuel. As you know, Spencer, in addition to making the cakes, you had to get the double-sided paper that was parchment on one side and foil on the other, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And there was this one point I just bridged a gap to the lead group. A lot of things went on at the start that I'm not going to get into here that would make the story even better. I make it up to the lead group, like 45 minutes in. I'm fully gassed. I'm starting to feel that I need to start eating because this was going to be, I think the race was 7.5 hours maybe. And I started eating a rice cake, and then I ran into a problem I had run into before in training and competition, which was it's pretty difficult to eat a wet rice cake when you're riding at VO2 max in a group. And in fact,
sucking the rice right up into your nostril.
yeah. So I started aspirating the rice. I've got rice stuck in my nasal cavity.
Yep.
Right. And then you just have to figure out, what do I do with this? Is this a medical emergency? Right. You know, you couldn't just ask AI back then. And you have this disturbing feeling of, I know that I have grains of rice in my nasal cavity, and this is extremely uncomfortable. And I'm also can't eat this stuff. Yet that's what the pros were eating at the time. Fast forward a decade, we're all chugging carb slurry anywhere we can get it and eating Rice Krispie treats.
This is you ordering at the cafe.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your order?
I haven't looked at the menu. We're talking about the fall mastermind gathering. It's possible that two things might happen. One, I can see in person, can I walk into the Scratch Cafe and get a bowl of carb slurry with the spoon? That would be my fantasy. And number two, are we at a point in our lives now where we could finally get a motor pacing session with Alan Lamb?
I think we could. I think let me poke around the cafe a little. I'm in hot water though, because I went into the cafe, I got a coffee. It's very good coffee. There's a coffee shop across the street that is hot, like popping. Like it takes 25 minutes to get your coffee. So I'm not going there. I'm going to the Scratch Cafe. There's also a place, this is diving deep in the North Boulder. There's a place next door, a new Mexican restaurant, not a Mexican restaurant, new Mexican restaurant next door that sells breakfast burritos that are like best in town. But here's the conflict. Scratch also sells breakfast burritos. So you have to then get your coffee at Scratch and then exit in a way that they don't see you go next door to get the burrito. And I got caught doing it by the GM yesterday. And so we might be on thin ice there. I hope I can patch that over. But isn't that interesting that it was all whole foods? You have to eat whole foods on the bike. Everything was whole food based. And we've completely gone away from that. When's the last time you saw a pro cyclist eating anything on a bike? It's all carb slurry from a bottle or a gel.
We're bearing the lead a bit here. So you're saying that you got a no outside food or drink warning?
Oh, no. I didn't bring it in. I just was leaving the restaurant.
Okay.
And dipped into the restaurant next door, which if you don't do it correctly, it's not good. And the GM of the Scratch Cafe the head chef was standing outside, and he definitely made eye contact with me as I walked in and out of the restaurant next door.
Yeah, that's interesting because just 2 days ago, I was taking a look at Bijou's sweet potato breakfast burrito recipe, which I'm assuming that's what they're serving at the Scratch Cafe.
Yeah, we'll walk you through the full menu tour when you're here. Got to dive in. And a lot of it is like kimchi based, which I'm not. And I was like, oh, can you make it without the kimchi? And they couldn't because it's pre-made. So
no substitutes.
Yeah, I got booted because of that.
Yeah,
but it's a great menu. We are talking a lot about the Scratch Cafe. The reason we're doing this is I just got out of a podcast where I talked about recent racing for like an hour and a half. And the racing is awful right now. Awful. Andrew, why is there any racing after Lombardia? It's a world tour race. It's a monument. It should be the end of the season. Done. Fiend. We're off. No, there's a world tour race in China, Tour of Guangxi, that has been the same person has won the first 4 stages, Paul Monnier, all sprint stages. Why are we having stage races where they have 4 sprint stages in a row? There's also the Tour of Holland. Did you know that was a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. That's happening right now too. Tour of Serbia. And then we have Chrono des Nations this weekend. Well, why wouldn't we? And there's actually important implications with points around this. I would say the best race of the week was Giro del Veneto. Looked fantastic, by the way. Wow, Italy was showing off. Isaac del Toro wins solo. His teammate Pavel Sivakov second. Del Toro is becoming a problem, by the way. This guy is getting better every race. I do wonder how long he can continue to coexist with Tadej Pogačar. Jonas Abrahamsson, third, the big Norwegian on Uno X, hoovers up a lot of UCI points, probably guarantees their World Tour status for 2026 and beyond. But Andrew, why do we do this? I mean, would you prefer the season just to end at the end of the last race? This dribble of small, confusing races, I find to be like a marketing disaster.
Yeah, and we do have some breaking news here, which maybe we'll dive into. The two things that have jumped out at me this week in the world of road racing. Number one, I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong. Please correct me. Jan Willem van Schip. Is that?
Yeah, he was at the Tour of Holland, I
Yes.
believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, at the Tour of Holland, running a triathlon bike from 1994, basically. He has 180 millimeter, 200 millimeter stem. He has a laid back seat post that's pointed forward, and we've all seen the clips on the gram. I'm assuming you're a bike racing fan. You've seen this guy. Does he look like someone you want to be riding next to in a group, Spencer?
Oh, this thing looks so dangerous.
It looks so dangerous.
He's essentially fashioned his road bike into an aggressive TT position. Like not just like aggressive. I assume it's all custom, right? You're not buying those components off the shelf. And I guess the UCI was concerned about this. Like, is his stem just going to snap in the middle of a race? And then they had the Tour of Holland kick him out, I guess, on a seat post based violation, because the seat post kind of goes one way and then the other way. Maybe that violates the UCI rule. But I mean, I think just on aesthetics, you have to draw a line here, Andrew, because at what point do you become triathlon? If you don't have standards, that's what happens.
Yeah. You end up in, is it UTI? I know that's the name of it's urinary tract infection. Is that also the name of the pro
UTI,
triathlon
something
league?
Like, I feel like there's like 15 triathlon leagues and they're all warring. And then the triathletes actually benefit because they pay you a ton of money to do one triathlon competition over the other one.
I'm talking about the one that we see in the Olympics where they're
UTI, not urinary tract infection.
Yes, they're racing in a group, and that is where I think you would see this style of bike. Interestingly, they must have
ITU. Sorry.
Okay. Anyhow, the company that designs the parts that Jan Willem van Schip is using as Toot components, and they have not one, but 3 brand slogans. The first, we designed the man's performance, not just performing parts. Genderist, first of all. Second, a bit clunky. This may be a translation, but this is what's showing up. Second, we craft your needs into a design for ultimate performance. And finally, my favorite, one cyclist, one bike. I have to say, they make very cool looking kit, and I think it would be fun to try this position. I know a few people have tried it and they've written about just how difficult it is to ride in that 90-degree elbow flexion position, which I know that's the position we all ride in generally when we want to go fast now. But that's kind of something you do maybe when you're in the front of the group. You're not typically sitting in a pack of 100 or 200 people. First of all, I'm never doing that. I'm riding with 0 to 5 humans maybe most of the time. And then when I show up at a race, I'm like, wow, it's been a minute. Nonetheless, it's very difficult to imagine sitting in a pack like that. I'm going to go on a tangent here for just a second, Spencer. I've been going deep into a YouTube channel I just discovered, Bicycle Station, which is a phenomenal channel, and they build...
Wait, this is crazy. This guy just reached out to me. I was introduced to him by a listener of this show, Alex Eve, my wife's cousin.
So it's Trey and Jesse, and I believe it's Jesse's partner, are the 3 personalities on the show. I love it. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels I've discovered in a while. They do high-end custom builds, and then they go to and do ultra endurance mountain bike events and marathon mountain bike events, bike packing, and then gravel races. And they typically are building a custom bike for each event. And then they do what you and I and everyone who listens to this podcast does after a race, where they'll spend 1 to 2 hours telling their friends about it. They're doing it on video though, and they actually are often in a position to win. I'm bringing this all up because I've been drawing up a list of potential events and experiences for the next 12 months, some of which you and I have discussed and we'll be completing together, such as the Katy Trail from Kansas City to Columbia, Missouri, with Kip pulling for 4 to 5 hours of the 7-hour ride. In addition to that, I've been interested in trying gravel worlds in Lincoln, Nebraska for a while.
Not the other gravel worlds.
not the UCI gravel worlds. However, when I watched, I think it was Trey's video, Trey from the bicycle station did the event. Jesse, the other host, has done it previously. And they had quite a lengthy discussion about how they believe it is the most dangerous start of any gravel race they've ever done. They start in the dark and about 30 or 40 minutes before sunrise, and they describe being in a pack, riding full gas, being completely unable to see. And as you know, in the Midwest, Spencer, it's not just hot, it's humid. So they said you're in a dust cloud, you can't see where you're going. And as is always the case in these gravel events, you have some hard pack or loose, and then there's also just sand you might hit. And in addition to that, it's so humid, they talked about how your glasses fog over. So you just can't see it all. And that kind of and then they made a suggestion. They said, hey, why couldn't this just start 30 minutes later? If that were possible, it would just be a much safer experience. One of my least favorite parts of any gravel event, going back to BWR Kansas, which we've talked about ad infinitum now. Don't worry, we're going to be adding some new experiences soon, like motor pacing with Alan Lim.
Are we announcing our next race, or no? Is that not finalized?
Maybe we will in a minute. Let's build up a little bit of suspense. I think one of my criteria is I would like to not have the experience that Jesse and Trey described. That doesn't actually sound like fun to me or like something I really want to do anymore.
Yeah, I was just even, as you were talking, thinking about our last event together, the BWR Kansas, where we started at near dark on open roads. It's like, well, this seems not great because cars could be driving around not knowing that we're on the road. This is interesting. I do find that to be the main friction point of gravel events for me, just the sheer danger, especially at the starts where they feel completely out of control and unnecessarily risky. I mean, what did you think about the use? All I could think about watching the UCI gravel worlds was you. If you would approve, disapprove. Well, I watched the Nebraska gravel worlds, and I saw people on Instagram. I hope they were joking of, this is a shame that the UCI has clearly brought in, or they've clearly brought in rock and laid rock all over this road to make it more gravelly. But no, that's just what the roads are like in Nebraska. But these European gravel championships, world gravel championships, world, whatever they're called, they look like they were groomed. They're on dirt paths. They're not really gravel, and they're groomed. I thought it looks fantastic. Get me over there. I'm doing that event. I wanted to ride that whole course. I thought it looked incredible. I think it was in the Limburg region of the Netherlands. Looks fantastic. I'm ready to go. Did you think it watered the event down too much, though?
It looked like a lot of fun to me. It looked like the kind of gravel I would love to ride. Relatively flat. No, I'm thinking back to 2 other events I've done in the past couple of years. Vermont Overland, the year I went, unfortunately, there was a fatality. There was a head-on between a rider and, I believe, a Dodge Ram, actually. And that race started with, I think, 2 miles down a mountain into a hard left. I didn't, you have to do whatever to start an event, but that seemed a little bit sketchy. And then Steamboat started with, I think, it was more than 4 minutes. Basically was roll out of town on the valley, think about a 5-minute VO2 max climb, and then left onto a downhill gravel that was about 6 minutes long. There are hills in the world. That's part of bike racing. And world tour riders, for example, have to do this all the time because it's their profession. And maybe some people enjoy doing that. Going back to being a parent, having a job, my risk tolerance has gone down. I'm targeting rolling terrain or flat terrain. And to me, gravel worlds, UCI gravel worlds looked phenomenal. The only thing that was off-putting about it, as is the case for, again, many of these events, I'm not sure how you solve this, although I do have an idea, is you have 1,000 people in a pen that's 2 car lengths wide, and for 95% of people, by the time you've started the race, your race is over. There's no way in hell you're going to get up and be a contender, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's a fix for it. You divide those people up into categories, and then they race at different times. I mean, I'm joking. I kind of like that everyone starts together. When I was USAC racing a lot, I always thought, why are we doing this? We should just all be racing together. It does become a logistical problem when you have that many people racing at the same time. Another issue is Florian Vermeesch wins. I didn't know Colinago had a gravel bike, so I guess that tells you it's probably a big event for Colinago. He's on UAE because I'd never seen this bike before. Looked great. Vermeesch wins. Like the race is over by the time you start watching it. The last hour and a half is for Florian Vermeesch like riding by himself because these races are so hard they break up so early. But what did you think of the women's race? Any thoughts on this? A pretty controversial finish where there was a Dutch rider away. Dutch riders chase her down with the help of a Czech rider who is on the Dutch riders trade team, who then won the sprint, Lorena Wiebes. A lot of hand ringing in Europe over this, Andrew, but did people forget the rule of gravel, the number one rule of gravel, and that there's no rules in gravel? There's no teammates. I don't care if you're from the same country as me. We're racing each other, right?
That is right. And I got a kick. Maybe that's not the right thing to say. It was not a good situation on the road or afterwards. At the same time, I felt that Lawrence Tendam's commentary was apt, and he said, I can't tell these people what to do, right?
Apparently the UCI was complaining to him that the riders were chasing each other down. It's like, I don't think that's the place of the race organizer to be telling the riders how they should be racing.
Yeah, and if people didn't know before, you're on notice now. Contrast that with, however, if we look at the Lifetime Grand Prix last Sunday, I believe, or last Saturday at Little Sugar in Bentonville, big gravel rave coming up this weekend, by the way, following.
Will they do it if the race?
Oh, of course they will. Yeah, and it's not just a gravel rave, Spencer, it's a country western gravel rave. I didn't even know this was a genre. I knew that Avicii song 7 or 8 years ago, Rest in Power Avicii. I didn't know that there was a big crossover country western EDM thing going on. I bet Kip knows about it. He's pretty dialed in.
He is a big EDM guy. Who's the artist? Is it purposely supposed to be like a Miley Cyrus knockoff?
I think I wasn't aware of this performing artist, but it looks like they have a residency at one of the clubs in Vegas, and
their name is something Cyrus, right? And
I don't. Is it a Cyrus?
thought,
all I know is we all saw the Instagram post. You're supposed to wear fringe buckskin. Who doesn't have some of that in their closet?
Of course,
right?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's going down. I'm going back to Little Sugar and UCI Gravel Worlds women's professional race. UCI Worlds women's professional race. We have teammates chasing each other down, nukes getting thrown, people giving lead outs that, like, why is this person giving a lead out to that person? It just didn't make that much sense. Little Sugar last weekend, I was not aware of this aspect of the Lifetime Grand Prix. Keegan Swinson coming off his world championship win at Marathon Worlds. He's there in the rainbow jersey. It's a 100-kilometer mountain bike race. He flats within minutes of starting. He has a teammate, Tobin Ortenblad, in the race. Both Keegan and Tobin have been on Choose the Hard Way. You can go in the archives if you want to hear their origin stories and learn a bit about their training and approach to gravel and mountain bike racing. And Tobin gives Keegan his wheels, and I think at another point in the race, somehow gives him other wheels. Keegan's just blowing out tires right and left. And then Keegan gets another flat, and another racer stops and just gives Keegan his wheel. I was not aware of this. Apparently, for the competitors within the professional category, this is something they can do. They can swap equipment if they choose to do so. At the same time, it seems in the Lifetime Grand Prix, there's often a lot of chirping about team riding.
Yep.
And like, why are people team riding? This person has a teammate that has... I don't really follow all of it. It's a bike race. Everybody's there to win. It does seem you would have a massive competitive advantage if you have a teammate who both can eat some win for you and just hand you their bike. Or I guess you can't do a complete bike swap. That's the only thing.
Okay. Interesting.
Right?
It is a big help, though, because of what's happened. Did we mention who won Little Sugar? Cam Jones? Also guest on this show and your show.
Yeah.
But it would be a big help if, if Cam Jones is up in a move and you're Keegan and you're thinking, well, I can just I'll get my boys on the front for 4 hours so I don't have to worry about these breakaways. Because what's currently happening is like at Unbound, like Cam Jones gets up the road with a former World Tour rider and they're gone. You're not pulling them back and everyone's arguing behind. I think it would make the racing worse. I'm slipping now. I don't care about gravel. That's my whole brand. I don't want to know. But actually, I was pretty interested in Little Sugar, 100 mile mountain bike race, right?
100-kilometer.
100-kilometer. And I mean, what Cam is doing is pretty impressive coming over. I think he's exposing a lot of the field as like he's coming over with legitimate mountain biking skills, legitimate power. Like you saw, did you see his power numbers from that race?
Yeah.
It's like 355 watts normalized for a 100-kilometer mountain
on
bike
a mountain bike. And we all know it's very difficult to put the power down on a mountain bike.
Not on a climb. It's not a sustained climb either, like very hard to produce that amount of power consistently. And I think he was over 300 watts average power. So I think he is doing stuff. He's bringing, Keegan's obviously very good, but Keegan's been dominating certain events. But Cam has been bringing, it's like, well, this is what happens when a World Tour engine shows up and really cares. Like, he can dominate people.
Yeah, phenomenal talent, as we talked about when we spoke to him. Seems like the kind of rider who could actually do the crossover to becoming a Classics domestique or potentially a Classics contender. I know some people out there just started yelling at their
the
Tesla
thing about
screen
Cam
or
is
whatever.
he's so technically skilled that I don't think that that's impossible.
I don't think it's impossible. And Spencer, you and I were discussing it this week. This is a guy driving around in a minivan.
Yeah.
Making his own mix, just like I do in my kitchen, and hanging out with his parents. Looked like he was out at maybe a quarry doing a little bit of paddle boarding, following the race. It's very laid back. And so is Keegan, actually. I mean, Keegan, Cam, absolute world-class competitors. I think one of the advantages they have relative to their peers within the Lifetime Grand Prix can up and down regulate like that. And that's something that the very best people at the top of every discipline can do that the average person typically struggles with. Just having that exact right level of arousal to compete. And then when they need to be relaxed, they're not stressing about anything, it seems.
You've said, I totally agree. Totally. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's why Cam, can you imagine going to a foreign country and I'm just going to buy a van. I'm going to drive around this country and I'm going to race against people that take it very, very seriously.
Very seriously.
Yeah, I'm going to dominate them. It's really impressive to me on a personal level, even outside of like the physical feats that he's doing. It takes a really regulated individual to do that. Speaking of regulation, speaking of turning off, flipping the switch, you turned me on to this content hole from Juan Ayuso's Instagram, and he is, well, Isaac del Toro is racking up wins in Italy. I think he has 7 wins in Italy in the last month, del Toro. Juan Ayuso is saying, I'm off. I'm out of office. He's in Miami. He's wearing the Tyreek Hill jersey, which Juan Ayuso speaks very good English. He knows the issues with Tyreek Hill. He cannot feign ignorance on this. That is a choice. And Tyreek Hill is probably one of the most problematic people in the NFL, if you don't know. I couldn't believe he was wearing that jersey. And then he's chilling in Miami. Is he going to have a Lamborghini soon? What did you think? I mean, obviously vacation is great. I want everyone to go on vacation. We should all be in Miami all the time. It's a fantastic city. But considering that he showed up I was having a conversation with someone just earlier today who was like, Juan Ayuso he's a competitor. He's a professional. He's always prepared. It's like, well, wait a second. We just saw him not prepared. He just showed up to the Vuelta not prepared. And do you know how much Lidl-Trek paid? Not in his salary. Just, do you know how much they paid to get him on the team, to his old team?
5 million euros.
10 million euros.
Oh my God.
For the right to pay him probably roughly 5 million euros a year.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, yes, you get to that number and you start to think, I don't know. I don't want to say, is that worth it? But is that the type of rider you want at that money?
Yeah. And again, as you mentioned, Spencer, hey, everybody's entitled to a vacation. And if you follow Geraint Thomas, what's occurring closely, you know 2 things. One, the guy's 15 pints deep as soon as possible following the. I don't even want to know what's going on right now.
I haven't been listening because I'm not prepared yet. I'm just saving it for when I'm more prepared to listen to the new episodes.
I don't even think he's put episodes out. I think he's probably at the Disneyland bar or something. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, apparently the Yates twins go deep. He refers to the Yates twins' vacations as he has a lot of admiration and respect for whatever goes down. Ibiza was referenced. So some people, whatever, they need to blow off some steam. They like to party. These professional athletes, especially cyclists, it's a totalizing commitment. They're living a very high performance, tightly controlled lifestyle all the time, weighing and measuring food. I have to say though, Spencer, one thing we don't see from Geraint Thomas, we don't see him posting. I mean, he might start doing it now, but even with his openness of talking about his love of alcohol, we never saw Geraint Thomas posting photos at 3 a.m. at the kebab shop after going to the pub.
It's a very good,
right?
very good point. You're right. A lot of it was kind of went unsaid.
Yeah, it went unsaid. There's something dignified about his drunkenness. And with Ayuso's a younger person, and young people, like many people in the world now, like to show everything on Instagram. And far be it from me, someone who's out in the field behind my house, talking to the camera about my chickens as I was doing today. We're all doing a little bit of it. Some of us have to do it for our jobs. If you just had a team pay 10 million euros to then pay you 5 million euros a year, I'm not sure that you need to be posting photos with your bros out on a yacht in the evening in Miami or inside of a club. I'm not sure that that's the right look right now.
I agree. I mean, he's from a different generation than us. I think it's safe to say he's 23. But even during the Vuelta, he was on social media, like arguing with people during the race. It's like, you don't need to be doing that. He did finish the season well, we should say, 8th at Worlds, 6th at European Championships. And both of those races, he was on Pogačar's wheel when Pogačar made the winning move, put himself in position to challenge Pogačar, came up short. So that is admirable, and he did seem focused in those 2 races. But that's a lot of money. You actually start to wonder. I heard that Red Bull paid 7 million euros. I think Daniel Benson reported it, 7 million euros to get him out of his last year of his deal with Soudal Quickstep. So Soudal Quickstep got 7 million euros payment to let him go, plus what they would have paid him, which is probably 4 to 5 million euros. So let's say Soudal Quickstep got 7 million like cash injection, saved 4 million euros for next year, and Red Bull's taking that on. Like, you start to wonder, Andrew, are these riders, are they really worth it? Is this a good deal for the acquiring team?
No, I don't think that it is a good deal for the acquiring team. I also think number one, I hope everything works out great for Juan Ayuso. He's a dynamic and charismatic writer, and I think he's a bit of a heel, you know? He's like a Ric Flair type character, so he's bringing something into the sport. Quinn Simmons recently mentioned, hey, you need characters and you need a little bit of drama in the sport if you actually want to make it interesting and compelling. It's good to see cycling starting to have a bit of tension in the storylines. At the same time, I just have this fear that I'm going to open my RSS feed one day and there's going to be some incident at 4 a.m. in a club or something worse than that. I would hate to see that happen for such a promising young athlete. I want to see this person fulfill their athletic potential. And Juan Ayuso also, and I haven't met Juan Ayuso in person, nor have I interviewed him. Whatever people think about him, he strikes me as a very intelligent person when I hear him speak. And a lot of people didn't like how he handled what went down at the Vuelta. This is not someone who lacks the capacity to think and express themselves, and I like that. I'm a little bit worried about him. As it relates to this, what I would call a reverse golden parachute, which is these teams are reaping this massive benefit when one of their star riders gets bought out. What it's actually making me think about, Spencer, giving the porousness of contracts for talent in Europe, I almost wonder if this strategy of squatting on talent at a young age and signing an extreme long-term contract actually is a huge competitive advantage because it's likely to get bought out by someone else who takes the problem off your hands. So maybe this is a reverse Viking.
It's a great idea. I mean, basically that's like DSM. They're not DSM anymore. Picnic Post NL. That's their whole business model. Like signing young promising riders in the long contracts. Like Mark Hershey, they get bought out. They get a big check, and then they sign more riders with that check. That is what Israel Premier Tech was supposed to do with Eric G. They signed him to a long deal. You go long, you underpay, the rider takes it for the security. And then the way they then cash in, if they're overperforming that contract, is they go to a team that pays them more money. The team that signed them to the long-term contract is compensated for that, and everybody wins. That's where I'm a little confused about the Israel Premier Tech situation, because they're supposed to just take the money. I'm like a villain in a Batman movie. You're supposed to just take the money. What are you doing? They're not supposed to fight this, though, because nobody wins in a fight like this. I don't quite know what they hope to get out of the Derek G situation. Are they going to make Derek G race for them against his will? It's confusing. But yes, it is a huge advantage to find and sign these riders to long-term deals. If they want to leave or they get a better offer, you're then compensated for them leaving. And it's a win for the team that gets the check. I mean, look at Soudal Quickstep. They're funded for basically another year just on getting rid of Remco 1 year early. And I don't know if you noticed, Paul Magnier, he's the guy who won. He's won every stage of the Tour at Guangxi so far. He's on that team. He has the second most wins of the year behind Tadej Pogačar. He's 18 wins. And they have Tim Merlier. So they do have riders that can win on that team, and they've got a lot of money now. So that's great for them.
Well, I know that Quickstep is talking about, or maybe Tom Boonen is talking about, Tom Boonen coming back into the Quickstep organization as a DS or a coach, which I would love to see that. I was just laughing because I was thinking about what would Quickstep do with 7 million extra euros. I thought, would they splurge and bring in the Tate brothers as speakers at an offsite?
The Wolfpack. Man's rights. So this is a great culture we have. I don't want to know what they would do with that.
Yeah. I think something weird's going to happen. Maybe they get Boonen a Lamborghini as a signing bonus.
Yeah, he's returning more positive tests for cocaine. But on Juan Ayuso, on UAE, Juan Ayuso's problems. Let's start listening. This is an incredibly talented, intelligent young man. so the problems with Juan Ayuso, but this is what we have to do. I would say the major problem facing him, and major problem facing the sport, Isaac del Toro, 21 years old. This guy, unbelievable, incredible. He's 2 years younger than Ayuso, and he's stealing Ayuso's spot. Ayuso was supposed to be the rider coming up to challenge Pogačar. Del Toro's already better, and he's 2 years younger and getting better every day, it seems like. Andrew, can they coexist, him and Pogačar at UAE? How does this end?
It's all about how you divvy up the scraps, right? And I mean, this has always been UAE's challenge, and it's not just about divvying up the scraps. It's about, and I mean, when I say scraps, I'm talking about things like getting to ride for GC. Yeah, the Giro d'Italia, the Vuelta. Now that, I mean, we'll see what happens with Pog next year, because now there's some talk that he might not ride Paris-Roubaix, right?
I don't understand that. I just had a conversation with Johan about that. I don't get it. Johan's theory, and I wonder if this is right, is if you remember back last year, the team did not want Pogačar to race Paris-Roubaix, and he did it anyway. Is this the team saying this or Pogačar saying? Is this wish casting from the team? The thought is if he doesn't do Roubaix, it would, because at this point, I don't think we've talked about Lombardia, by the way, since that happened, but Pogačar won. Quinn Simmons went away from the gun and gets fourth. It's pretty impressive. I think that's the way people are going to have to start riding, because Pogačar is so good and UAE is so good, they will grind you down. Like we saw Remco ride the perfect race on Saturday at Lombardia, and there's nothing he could do. Gets second. He's better than everybody else. Quinn Simmons, I think, has the right idea. I think that's how people are going to have to race. But we're about next year. So I think he has to start checking off things he hasn't already won. That's the only thing that's going to keep him interested. So it'd be San Remo and Roubaix. Like we need it. We need it, Pog. What are we going to do without that? The thought is if he doesn't do Roubaix, is he focusing on the Giro? I don't know why he would go back to the Giro unless they pay him a lot of money or like give him an ownership stake in the Giro d'Italia. Because the Giro, to me, looks like Del Toro. I think Del Toro's got to go back and try to win that, right? That's the next step for him.
Yeah, and of course, we touched bases last time on the Pog challenge that took place in Slovenia, and it was similar to I don't know what it's called, it's the Red Bull race where they start the pro rider last, and then they have to try to ride to the front of the field. It was that format. I don't know if you caught this, but Andrew Feather, who is from Bath and is a hill climbing national champion in the UK, held off Pog. He didn't ride a faster time, but Pog did not catch him, which is pretty phenomenal for an amateur rider. And notably, his pre-ride meal was McDonald's. Having said that, it's a good time for the great taste. When I think about Pog in 2026 and some of the things he said and his Sad Boys jersey he was wearing with the Do Not Disturb sign, yeah, he's got to keep it fresh. He's got to mix it up. And I'm wondering if what we're seeing here is an inverse Pidcock. The Pidcock, of course, is to say things like, I'm going to win the Tour de France, or I'm going to win this specific stage. And it having no tactical or strategic benefit and then showing up and not being able to do that. I'm wondering if Pog actually is getting in the heads of his competitors here. Like, why tell them you're going to show up at Paris-Roubaix? Keep them guessing.
Keep them guessing.
Keep them guessing.
Last year, and everyone was losing. I almost think do Flanders, don't even mention Roubaix, and then we don't know. We should say that race was on the same day as a Primož Roglič event, which is weird. And why would those two guys have the same?
Yeah, I think we know why. Yeah, maybe some bad blood there.
Yeah. And Adam, so that happened the day after Lombardia. You're like, well, he was probably tired. Well, I turn on the TV, and Andrew, I follow racing so close, and there's races I didn't even know existed happening. There's Trofeo Europa. Adam Yates, who did Lombardia, wins it. Jay Vine, who did Lombardia and was like a key player, Pavel Sivakov, key player. All those guys are at this race because UAE is trying to get 100 wins on the season. Adam Yates wins. Jay Vine's third. Apparently, Christian Scaroni asked Jay Vine if he could have third, and Jay Vine's like, "No, no, I'm gonna take third." But
Amazing.
what's happened to the youth of the world? That's a ridiculous request. And did you remember this from? It was one of the Swiss races, either Romandy or Switzerland. Enric Mas was off the front with Joao Almeida on a stage, and it got caught on camera. He asked for the win, and he said no. But then people were complaining. Scaroni was complaining about this, like, "Oh, UAE's taking everything." It's like, dude, at a certain point, you got to nut up and win. You can't. They're not going to give you wins. They don't owe you anything. I mean, am I off base thinking that?
Well, I know a lot of people listening they're thinking about PWR Kansas, and they're wondering what kind of conversation did you have with Valtteri Bottas when you were waiting for the train? Because I believe you had to do the illegal crawling over the boxcar maneuver, correct?
Well, so I did catch Bottas and his partner Tiffany Cromwell at a train crossing. We ride away on the. I feel like I've told this story on the show. We ride away on the.
Keep going. Like, were you taking polls, or did you just sit on that?
I was taking polls. I was taking hard polls. But actually, what's funny is the misogynistic inside of all of us. I think we probably all believe like we could win. I could win the Tour de France Femmes, right? I could do it. No, like Tiffany was pulling so hard, and she's so low, like she's so aero. Like Valtteri and I were on the limit. We're not taking strong pulls. We come through, and I know I'm about to get dropped, and we enter the single track before it's like 10 miles of single track.
Oh, you didn't attack before the single track?
I told him
you knew where the turn was, I'm assuming, right?
I should have just attacked and ridden it really slow, like with wide elbows. They can't pass me. And I told Bottas, I was like, hey, it's not fair since I caught you at the crossing, so you can go in before me. And then he immediately drops me. I never would have been able to stay with him because I was falling apart. But in his mind, he thinks I gifted him the win.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Now I have an ally at a future race, even though I didn't actually give anything up because I would have gotten dropped anyway.
That was quite a technical section. There was a lot of sand in there, and
so much sand.
It was not easy to ride.
And there was
he was proficient off road.
He's a very good rider. Very good. I guess what a great job he has where he just travels. If you follow him on Strava, he just travels around the world to these races and rides everywhere he goes. Next issue facing Juan Ayuso. I don't know if you've been following this. Fascinating. But Mattias Skjelmose, one of 3 riders to beat Tadej Pogačar this year. Also, on the Pogačar, people are losing their minds about this guy. He's ruining cycling. You look at the numbers, it's a very simple solution. He's unbeatable on courses with more than 4,000 meters of climbing, almost unbeatable on courses with more than 3,000 meters of climbing. What were the best races of the year? They were the easiest races. San Remo, Roubaix, those were great races. You need to make the courses easier. If you make them harder, if we've been trending to harder courses the last decade, you've set it up like you've walked into his trap. He can just dominate anyone on these hard courses because he's the best rider. Just make the races easier. Look at the final stage of the Tour. I mean, that wasn't easy, but other people could compete with him, and it was fantastic. But Juan Ayuso, so 3 riders beat Pogačar this year. It was Van der Poel, Van Aert, and Mattias Skjelmose. Mattias Skjelmose is sitting there watching his team sign a guy with a 10 million euro buyout clause to come be the team leader. I don't think he's that excited about it. Did you see? He also gets 4th at World Championships. Very good.
Not
Beats
bad.
Juan Ayuso. So he probably in his mind thinks he should be the leader. Did you see that he had a herniated disc in his back after Lombardia, and the team sent him to Tour of Guangxi?
Whoa, punishment.
Has to be punishment. Yeah.
What did he do wrong? What do you think he did?
Because he's in the press been saying he doesn't agree with the signing. He thinks he should be the leader. To me, that's like so. That tells me the situation's so bad. Like I don't know if he's coming back to the team next year. Can you imagine getting sent to that race with a herniated disc?
He shouldn't come back. I don't know what his agent's doing, but he should be getting him out of that contract. He's washed. It's over.
Why is the team? I mean, I guess they're financially all in on Ayuso. There's no room for anyone else there because of that. Is the team undervaluing him? Do they not remember Amstel Gold? I mean, that was a pretty impressive win.
I wonder what happened that we did not see And I don't know these details of the Ayuso deal. Perhaps you do. I'm just thinking about other writers with big personalities who had big contracts, big potential, some of whom delivered, Spencer. Yes, I'm talking about Peter Sagan, a few DUIs, some problems off the bike, and a number of world championship wins. Brought with him his brother and an entourage. Fast forward, we've talked about it many times. Tom Pidcock, backup dancers, brother, come with him into the team. What are we looking at with Ayuso? Do we have a sibling, and how many staff members?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think he has a sibling that's a pro rider.
Who's his coach? Do you know?
I believe it was Javier Soler,
Oh,
which is the
okay.
same person that's the coach of Pogačar.
Yeah, that's
But
no more.
they usually don't let you have what teams now used to be able to like have whatever coach you wanted, but they worry about you having your own coach now. So usually the team provides the coach. So
Yeah, okay.
you'd either bring your coach with you. He's obviously not going to leave the team if he's coaching Pogačar, or you get a new coach when you get to the new team.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know those details, though, because I'm wondering if that's a bit of the tension. Ayuso coming into the team, and you're a GC contender, you're a star rider, definitely a point of concern. So much going on at Lidl-Trek that will be wild to watch play out in 2026, not the least of which is what I perceive as ongoing tension and ongoing problems with Jonathan Milan and Mads Pedersen. I don't see that work.
Oh yeah, that was my next question.
Right? I don't see that. There's a lot going on inside of this team, and it's a team, right? These are individuals. You got to have people who are hitters who can get out there and win. And at the same time, that's just what happens in this sport, as is the case on every team. It's a bit different, though, Spencer. I'm thinking in particular about the NFL, where any day of the week you can walk in and get waivers, right? And you're gone, and somebody else is coming in the door. Cycling is different. It's less financially stable. There's not as much capital. The revenue model is utterly broken. So I think there are a lot of differences here. At the same time, though, we see people not doing midseason transfers very frequently, although it does seem to become a bit more common now, right?
Yeah, give me the midseason. I hate how in cycling you announce your new team and then you're just sitting there awkwardly on your old team. Get them the new team. Let's act like a real sport. You mentioned uncertainty, et cetera, et cetera. I found Intermarché's financial reports. The team loses like millions of euros a year.
They need an oligarch.
They only were able to ride this year because they had an unnamed shareholder give them 500,000 euros in cash and a 2 million euro loan.
In a McDonald's bag.
In a McDonald's bag. They don't know who it is, and they still haven't paid Biniam Girmay for his green jersey bonus, and they have a lot of unpaid wages. So find the richest team you can and stick with them. I do think you're poking at the right thing with Lidl-Trek. I think Skjelmose that's like not a real. That should not be a concern because Ayuso and Skjelmose go to the tour. Neither of them are winning, right? You just do the best you can. That's all we can ask. We're not going to win anyway. I think the real conflict is going to be Juan Ayuso rolls up to the tour. Mads Pedersen is there. How many teammates is Mads Pedersen using for his green jersey aspirations? Jonathan Milan is there. How many teammates is Jonathan Milan using for his green jersey and his sprint stages? And Juan Ayuso is going to say, what the heck's going on here? I thought I was the leader. Why are all these other guys trying to get results at this race?
I completely agree with you. I think it's a huge problem when two things become four things, become five things.
Yes.
You're not winning. And especially when you're just beginning to step onto this path of we're going to be a GC team. I think you can start getting cute when you're Visma 2020, 2021. I'm probably getting the years wrong, but you know what I mean. Peak Wout, peak Jonas. You have to throw Wout a bone, and I remember just those attacks he was doing. Just like, I'm just going to ride off the front today for 3 hours or whatever he was doing. this is not the same situation. They don't have a proven infrastructure to deliver a win at the Tour de France. And in fact, only two teams do currently. Everyone else better have their act together, and they can't be at cross purposes. That's something that even the best teams with the best chance of winning struggle with.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because
Yeah.
I thought it was a team that really punched above their weight. I thought Milan and Pedersen worked really well. If you remember, there was a Ghent-Wevelgem 2 years ago, I believe, where they were off the front just working over Van der Poel, and then they win the race. And then it's like, I don't know why both those guys aren't just at the Tour. Like, they don't seem like they're simpatico in their goals, and then you're adding more complications to the soup that just doesn't seem like it's going to mix that well. I would say the one of the weirdest thing that's happened in pro cycling recently is Skjelmose getting sent to China with a herniated disc. I don't get that at all. How did that happen? Like, what? That's a little aggressive. If they knew about it and that was punishment. Andrew, if you could do anything to this calendar, what would you do? Do you love it? Is Tour Guangxi, you're sitting down every morning, you can't wait to catch up on it? Are you waking up at midnight to watch the stages live? What do you think? What would pro cycling look like if you were in charge of the calendar?
I would make Gravel Worlds a world tour road event. That's one thing that I would do.
Well, okay, it's funny you say that. I thought Gravel Worlds was not the best gravel race that weekend. I thought Paris Tours was the best gravel race. That thing was amazing. Maybe, I mean, Gravel Worlds, that was a beautiful course, but maybe I think it's a problem that you have Paris Tours and Gravel Worlds conflicting on the same day when they're both essentially the same race. Stuff like that blows my mind.
Yeah, Spencer, you're going to have to correct my horrible pronunciation, and it's never going to get better. I'm unlikely to put effort into this. But if we could pair Trobro Lyon, Paris Tours, Paris-Roubaix, Gravel Worlds into one block of racing. So, and the reason I'm saying, like, let's make this one block is I think part of what happens with these races is I think it actually puts a big logistical ops and financial strain on the teams, because you often have to do more equipment preparation. It's getting different now that riders are on the same bike almost all the time. Nonetheless, it requires a degree of modification, probably different wheel and tire setups, and you need to probably prepare for more punctures and mechanicals. And I know the UCI has limited the number of staff you can have on the road and so forth, but let's just cluster this racing so that their service course can have the equipment they need in theater for, I don't know, a 4 to 6 week period. We know that from a participation point of view, this is where the sport is headed. Road racing is pretty much finished in the United States. And people want to see this. Like, let's watch the best riders in the world from the World Tour in a more gravelly environment. Gravelly.
Well, we are freestyling here, so I've not fully thought this through. You might think, well, where would you fit that all in around Paris-Roubaix? Well,
move it to the fall.
Well, yeah, and it has been in the fall, and it's been good recently.
It's good.
I almost think let's copy and control Command X, Amstel Gold, La Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Put that in between the Vuelta and Worlds, the Worlds and Lombardia. Put that there. And Paris-Roubaix kicks off like gravel week. So you have Paris-Roubaix, Trot-Lô-Brion, Paris Tour, and Gravel World Championships is the next Sunday. And it's like gravel bonanza that week. I don't know. That would be kind of cool. And you tie it into UCI racing somehow with that continuity. I feel like the Ardennes, maybe it's my personal preference. To me, it always leaves me cold because we've gone through the cobbled classics. They're so good. And then it's like, oh man, Amstel, I forgot about this race. And it's like, what? It does not pop the same. That region of Belgium does not have the same level of like fervent obsession with cycling. And it feels very, feels out of place almost. And it's like, well, could we try to tie Liège to Lombardia? It's two very difficult monuments like Paris-Roubaix and Flanders are tied together. It's try to get some continuity there. And I don't know. This could be, I thought if we go back to 2020 when the calendar was all mixed up, there probably are interesting nuggets there where you could optimize the calendar. Maybe that is the best calendar, is the crazy 2021.
I'm having so many far out ideas right now, Spencer. I'm thinking, why not have a gravel time trial in one of these Grand Tours?
Man, I was also just talking to someone who hates gravel in road races. The incumbent powers hate gravel in road races. A gravel time trial would certainly be interesting. You could not argue with that. Would it be beloved? Probably. Would people inside the sport hate it? Yes. Should we do it? Probably. Yeah. I don't know. That would be cool.
Yeah. Another thought that I have, which is unlikely to ever happen, but now that we're just looking at a clean slate here in terms of the sequencing of the season, I actually would like to not see a giant lump of Grand Tour racing in the middle of the season. What I would like to see is a separation of at least, well, I guess we have a bit of a separation currently. What I would like to see is I'd like to see Grand Tours go to 2 weeks, and then I would like to see periods of more classic style racing, and I would like it to be mandatory for, I don't know, the top 100 riders in the world to attend all of these races. So I actually would like to remove some of the optionality. And going back, we talked a bit about Bottas, and we know there's this very close symbiotic relationship between the world of high performance auto racing, just human performance generally, and professional cycling. I think that there are some great concepts that we could transpose across the sport. And one of those is just have the best athletes at the best events and make it mandatory, and just reduce the number of days of garbage racing, or you can send the rest of your team to those events, but your top 5 people should have to be at certain events, in my view.
Yeah, we want to respect. We have respect for these events, but yes, get rid of the garbage. Flush the garbage out. It's just too much. You would never have Max Verstappen racing Monaco Grand Prix, and you're like, well, where's Lewis Hamilton? Like, he's like doing a local race over in Spain. I don't know, like he's doing a karting event. Like, why would he be here? It's like, no, you need all the big riders here. I do think the tour has to be in July, just because that's when holiday is. So everyone can be there. Sunflowers, you can do the big mountain passes. I do think the Giro and Vuelta should be 2 weeks. I think really radical idea. The Vuelta should have a year suspension because the course was so bad. Like you should reserve the right to revoke the worst Grand Tours status for the next year. And it's like, you got to take a year off. Sorry, you've lost your privilege to run as an event.
Yeah, Spencer, we didn't talk about this, and I don't know if you've seen it, but apparently a car drove on course at the Tour of Holland and rammed the riders during the neutral start, which is horrible. Once again, highlighting the soft target that professional cycling is.
Yeah, and I don't know if I didn't want to mention this because I didn't know if I don't think this was intentional. I don't know. But there are, like, remember this at the beginning of the year in France? There were cars. It was like Etoile de Bessèges or something. There was multiple cars on the course, which seems like that shouldn't happen. You should probably lose your ability to host a race if that's happening.
Yeah.
Andrew, before we go, I don't know if you've noticed this. Well, we talked about this on the pod, but your Tetema Rockets are probably going to be at the Tour de France next year.
Yes.
You look at these rankings a little deeper, and you say, okay, the Rockets are going to make it. The other wildcard team has to be Total Energies, because to make a wildcard selection to a Grand Tour, you have to be in the top 30 teams. There's actually not that many teams that then aren't World Tour or in the top 30. I mean, maybe these rankings will change because teams are going to go away. Like Lotto and Intermarché will become one team, two become one. I'm looking at Arkea. They're going to go away, so they won't be around. But you're looking at a situation, not next year, but the year after, where the wild card Total Energies is going away because they're sponsoring Ineos. It might be wide open for a Tour de France wildcard invite. Let's say Tetsuma Rockets get it again. There's currently not another French team that would be a wildcard invite because Cofidis and Groupama is going to be World Tour. Cofidis is going to have an automatic selection probably. So there's another open wildcard unless they bring VF Group Bardiani, Equipo Kern Pharma, Burgos BH, Pulte Visit Malta, or Cajo Rural, which I would imagine they won't take those teams because those teams put their whole seasons behind going to their home races, whether that be the Giro or the Vuelta. I think someone could start a team and get an invite to the Tour if they had enough funding, just like the Tetsuma Rockets. Do you think this is going to become a trend?
I know that we have a few billionaires who listen to this podcast, no joke. And if one of you wants to write a blank check for Spencer and me to start a team that will race in the Tour de France next year, we're open to having that conversation. Having said that, something interesting about this Tadej Rockets situation, Spencer, is they've now nuked their team. They riffed, I believe, 9 riders in the past week. And what I'm thinking about is who are they hiring and how many World Tour points are coming into the team, given I'm guessing they have a much more substantial budget this year. So who's going to come onto the team? Who's on the market that has not been snapped up yet? Who might be unhappy with their situation over at the Tour of Guangxi right now? Who might be looking for somewhere to go?
I mean, that would be unbelievable if Mattias Skjelmose was on the team. They did hire, they got rid of a lot of riders. They did hire Dylan Groenewegen and spent a lot of money on him. So that's the big signing.
Wow. What does that mean for Lucas Kubish, their sprinter?
He might be the lead-out rider.
Interesting.
Let's look at Lucas. What's his biggest sprint win this year?
The Sagan protege.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to go. I don't think Dylan Groenewegen's going to be winning so many races. There's just nothing to go around for Lucas.
It's true. Lucas is 25.
The thing I would look out for is what I just said, Intermarché and Lotto. That's 2 full teams that are going to become one team. And Intermarché has a lot of good riders and a lot of good riders that probably haven't been paid in a bit and are going to want to jump on any team that can pay them. So I would go hunting in those Intermarché waters. I think they're incredibly fertile. That team blew me away consistently. They would show up to races and they'd have 4 or 5 riders you could imagine winning the race, and Ineos would have 1. And that's a team with a massive budget. So I think they're going to go knocking around on the Intermarché Lotto door and see if there's anyone they can get.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to have a lot of riders on the market pretty soon. And we know we've got a few unhappy people and that these contracts are not worth the paper that they're written on.
That would be wild if someone, Skjelmose went to the Rockets. That'd be crazy. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. We do have to go. We are running very long. But we often talk about like the Giro rolls around and you're like, VF Group, who is on this team? They have a rider named Filippo Furanelli. He is 30 years old. Do you know what team he's going to, what team he just signed for next year?
Bahrain Victorious.
Visma Lease Bike.
Wow.
How interesting is that?
Wow.
A 30-year-old second division Italian rider who was going up and, just like in these breakaways, he did get 8th at a stage. He got 5th. He's actually very good at the Giro now that I'm remembering. He got 8th at a stage, 5th at a stage, 8th at a stage. They must see something in this guy. And that's Visma's. Remember Bart Lemon? He was like a fighter pilot and they signed him and now he's one of their best riders. Like he's one of their most important domestiques. And I kind of wonder if they see the same in Filippo. But it does make me wonder if Visma, they get a lot of crap because now they're overthinking everything and a lot of times their tactics don't work out that well. But if in 10 years, like that will be the model where we've identified Filippo's very good at one thing and we need help with that one thing and we're going to sign him for that, versus currently I think people sit down in a room and say, who can win a race? Oh, this guy's good. He's class. Yeah. Like that might not be happening in 10 years.
Well, next time we meet, we have material big news that we're going to be sharing about something that's coming up, and we're throwing our hats back into the competitive arena. I can tell you, as I mentioned at the beginning, some pretty serious training going down here in Hope, Maine right now. I've been putting on a lot of layers and going out in the winter. Winter wind, it's winter here on October 17th. Second thing I want to mention, go over to Choose the Hard Way. You've got 15 minutes somewhere in your day on those days when you don't think you can train, when you can get something in. Spencer and I talk about how we can do it, get his Drago Hill Sprint protocol. And the next time that we meet, I would like to talk about what is 2026 going to look like for Christophe Laporte. It's a rider we have not talked about a lot in 2025. I'm just wondering what's next for Christophe.
I mean, you look at his 2025, he did not race very much.
No,
at
he
all.
didn't.
I mean, I think he was injured, and he actually had a good result at Perry Tours. But yeah, we should 32 going on 33. You getting into the danger zone at that age. I would love to talk about that. I'll meet you back here, same time, same place, to talk about Laporte next Friday.
See you then.
All right, bye.